And Brother Michael, I'm leading the delegation from North Carolina, so I'm going to have to disappear.
Okay,
But I'll
before you,
be
do you have
back.
time before you disappear, Brother Fleming? We know that you are in DC with the North Carolina delegation
Yes,
for the U.S. Coalition of Muslim Organizations Advocacy Day there in the
United
capital,
States
right?
Congress of Muslim Organization.
The United
Yes,
States Congress of
United
Muslim
States Congress of Muslim Organizations.
Congress of
Yes,
Muslim Organizations. Okay.
NDC, sponsored by CARE, Impact. Quite a few of the organizations are here, you know.
Uh-huh.
And this year we have over 1,000 delegates from across 20 different states, with
Uh-huh.
about 1,108 delegates, the largest delegation we've had thus far, by the grace of Allah. But my
Um,
duty today is to be the captain of the, to guide my delegation from North Carolina. There are about 15 of them. Most of them are young people, alhamdulillah. But I need to get back into Congressman Fushi's office, so I'm going to say the prayer, inshallah, and continue my journey, if that's
okay,
okay.
that's
Uh,
fine.
First of all, assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters and brothers. As we always do, we start off thanking Allah for this day, for His mercy, for His grace, even for the sunshine and the birds that we hear. So we'll start off with Al-Fatiha, the first surah in the Holy Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Thank you, Brother Fleming. Um,
Alhamdulillah.
this is April 20th, 2026. Brother Fleming El-Amin, current president of the ACGG and one of the hosts here at MAP5. Brother Fleming is leaving us because he is leading the North Carolina delegation that will be going in to meet one of the elected officials, I believe is a congressperson from, he may have said Fayette County, I'm not quite sure. Congressperson Fushi, I think he said. So he may or may not be able to join us a little bit later. I think their meeting is scheduled for about a half an hour, so that you know that he's not in the Caribbean on a beach somewhere, but he's actually doing the work that we hope that more of us will engage in. That's the hope of MAP5. Our mission is to encourage, to inform and educate, and hopefully motivate, inspire all of us to become more civically and politically engaged. We know that we are in very serious times, so it's time for us to really lift up our voice and not just sing, but to lift up our voice to hold accountable those elected officials on the local, the state, and the federal levels so that our interests can be met in this society. We normally start off with a icebreaker. Generally, that is led by our other co-host, the Honorable Cheryl Sudduth. She is, um, she has had her passport stamped so that she could go to the East Coast. She and Fleming usually have a little conversation about the East versus the West Coast. I haven't seen her in the room yet, but hopefully, inshallah, she'll be able to join us. Her duties as the director, she has so many duties, but she is the director of the West Contra Costa County Water Board. And so sometimes she has to travel for her responsibilities with that water board. And she's also very politically engaged here in California, statewide. So hopefully she will join us. But I will make an attempt to, there she is. Honorable Cheryl Sudduth. She would not
Can
let
you
me
hear it?
sleep. She would,
Yes, I
we
hear.
we can hear you, but you shouldn't be talking. You should be on mute right now, brother. Thank you. Okay. So Honorable Cheryl Sudduth has joined us. I don't know if she can unmute herself. I don't know if she's, oh no, not some people feel the rain, others just get wet. Bob Marley in the background. I saw I think someone on LinkedIn, I think it was LinkedIn, they played a song by Bob Marley that I didn't remember ever hearing, and I think it hadn't been released, and it's called Justice. I don't know if you heard that song. You've heard that song?
Ma'am.
Justice. And the lyric that got me was that he said there can be no justice when criminals are making the law. So I didn't want to violate any copyright issues, but I'm going to check with Sister Manira to see if we can play that because the lyrics to that Marley tune is like he recorded it last week. That's how relevant it is. But Cheryl, I know you're there on the East Coast. Fleming, he just checked in. He opened us up with a prayer. His North Carolina delegation is going in right now to meet with their North Carolina congressperson, one of their congresspersons. And so we're just getting ready to start. I was going to sneak in my little mundane icebreaker, but we'll let you go with your 5-star icebreaker.
I am, first of all, God Monday morning. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
And it is amazing that you mentioned that song. Uh, it is one of the ones, even though, he's from Jamaica, Jamaica, and it is one of those songs that often plays as a New Yorker, that we play a variety of Caribbean songs during Caribbean week.
Yes.
And that's one of the ones, Get Up, Stand Up, Egyptian song. And so it's always played War.
Mhm.
It's always playing. And that is one of them. And so I was feeling quite Bob Marley this weekend and today, and um, War was one of the ones I had on rotation, but we grew up listening to this music. But this particular quote is one that I've had on rotation because it's one that stays in my mind, because it's one that grandmother used to tell us about. It's similar to what people talk about spilt milk.
Yes.
And she used to say that about, you it's a little bit different, the Creole saying, right? And she used to have this experiment with trying to get it back in the bottle, right? With Pepsi. So my question for you all today is this. I'm not going to ask you for a number. I mean, we can do 2 questions because I do want to ask you for a number because we didn't get to the second. You asked for a number. I asked for a number last week and I told you it was 2 questions. So I let you pick one. So I'm going to ask you the second question today, the one that you didn't pick. I think you picked, was it?
You asked me to remember 7 days ago?
No,
So
no,
you have strong faith.
I think I remember because the question it was a good one
I
because
think it was 29, wasn't it? No,
I
you only
think,
had
no,
up
no,
to
no.
20, you only had up to 28.
Yes,
So was it 13?
I think so. I'm gonna look on my list because it was two really good questions. And I only gave you one of the two. And it was
Give
because
us an
there's one that I
example of
really
when,
want to
give us an example of when the actions of a stranger showed that you were loved or something like that.
that you were loved, that you
That-
were really loved.
yeah.
And so I want to give you the second part of that one, the second question. But before I do that, I want to ask you this, another hard one, and then I'll ask you the second question. So two-part today.
Okay.
The first one is, let me see. Yeah, because last week that was a good question. Let me see. The first question is, what what would it look like if you lived life with real courage?
What would it look like if you lived life
If you lived life with
with
real
real courage?
courage.
That's such a broad question.
If you lived life with real courage.
Okay, well,
Fear, not regret, but with real courage. What would that look like?
that's so broad a question. I mean,
I know, and it's your interpretation. So I'm not giving any more information because I want people, and it's very similar to why I have this behind me, right? Because most people, when they go out into the rain, they put a hoodie on and they put an umbrella. Afraid. They're afraid of the rain. So what would it look like if you weren't afraid? I was thinking about this myself.
choo, choo, choo. What would it look like if you were not afraid?
If you were
Um,
not afraid, if you just lived life with courage, it could be one thing, it could be broad life period. It could be some, and this is for you
well,
listeners too. So
I'm stuck on
first
the
time,
you. I'm stuck on the you because the you
you.
could be the general you, which
Mhm.
would apply to the society as a whole, or the you could be the individual. So I'm going to say that if we, if the individual, if myself and myself being a part of society, the whole society, if we, if I lived a courageous life, and if the society predominantly had courageous people who are civically and politically engaged, we would have a society of peace, freedom, justice, and equality. That's what it would look like. That's my very broad answer.
But what about you,
What
yourself?
about me?
Yeah. What would
Okay.
that look? What about you? What about you? What would you do?
What would I do?
What would you do
Okay.
personally?
Well, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, says that when you see a wrong, you should change it with your hands. If you're not able to do that, speak out against it. If you're not able to do that, you know, have a hurt in your heart because of the wrong that you're seeing, and that's the weakest. Um, so I think I would be the next president of the United States.
See, there you go. See,
How about
that's
that?
what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking. I like that. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like big stuff. I like it. I
So I
like
felt
it.
the rain. I felt the rain.
Without the rain.
Because see, that's a
Uh,
blessing. That's the blessing that I see in the current administration. Because if you are a thinking person with your good mental faculties, you would see that the current administration shows how mediocrity or less can be put in charge by forces in the background. And so we shouldn't have a fear of taking on more responsibility because we couldn't do any worse than the people who are in charge now. That's the way I see it. So it's a good
good
thing.
thing.
It's a good thing. Hopefully it will encourage those like-minded, right-minded, um, knowledgeable, morally strong and upright and striving people to take on the role of leadership in our society. Because we couldn't do any worse. Inshallah, God willing.
Well, I'm gonna flip it from we couldn't do any worse, then we would do it much better.
We would do much better, of course.
Yeah. Because, yeah. All right. Brother Sharif, Sister Hassan, Brother Michael, Sister Tahida, Brother Ishmael, and I know that Sister Amatullah hiding behind the call-in user. There's Brother Fleming. Let me grab Brother Fleming first while we
Okay.
got him.
All right.
Brother Fleming. Brother Fleming. Brother Fleming looking
Yes,
sharp over there. I
ma'am.
got
Yes,
some
ma'am.
band-aids. I got some extra band-aids over here. All right. All
Thank you,
right,
sir.
sir. Yes, I also like them. So the question today,
Well, thank you,
we got
Mr.
two of them, but I'm gonna give you the first one. The first one is
All right.
what what would it look like if you lived life with courage? So without fear, if you just lived with full courage, what would that look like? Sister Mahasan, I'm asking you put yourself on mute for a moment because it's gonna give us feedback, and I got you on the queue. So, brother, what would it look like, Brother Fleming, if you lived with
Wow.
full courage?
Hmm. Let me start off with the letter A before I go to the letter B. The
We
letter
got
A
you.
would be I would actually do my very best to eliminate us being labeled with colors for a human being,
Mm.
period. To make us see each other in the value that we are in our human essence. And I don't care how you try to label yourself, if you limit your definition of self strictly on a color basis, you limit your growth as a human being.
Mhm.
And that takes
Mm,
courage because a lot of people aren't willing to accept that because they're in the habit of identifying people what I call the kindergarten mentality. Red, green, yellow, black, white, orange, like the orangutan in office now. I'll stop right there. And others. That would be A. And the second one, I don't know how many of you actually watched the astronauts and the interview when they came back. The brother who
yeah.
went up there had the most powerful expression, I thought. He said he looked back at the Earth and realized that just like they were a team in that capsule, that humanity also is a team. And we have to live to work together, to see each other's human value, and stop this nonsense of trying to define each other in an inhumane way. I thought that was very powerful. All right, that's y'all know I'm in between meetings, right? But
Yes.
I'm trying to do my best. And I just got a text from Mustafa. You may be a little late getting on, okay? But I'll come back on
Okay.
as soon as I
Absolutely.
can. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll
Keep
look
up the
for it.
good
Thank you
fight.
so much.
Keep up the
Alhamdulillah,
good fight.
alhamdulillah,
Keep that good troublemaking going on.
We appreciate you.
Yes,
alhamdulillah. Thank you
indeed.
both.
Alhamdulillah.
All right, so Brother Michael, I mean you were first with the hand up, the fist up. Go
As-
ahead, brother.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Walaikum
Salam.
assalam.
Thank you, MAP5. As you were laying out the question, a flood of individuals came across my mind. Frederick Douglass to begin with. Ida B. Wells, so on and so on, the giants that had the kind of courage that you're speaking about.
Yep.
And then I came to the idea that that courage would lead me to be the best human being that I could be. And I see that again represented in these figures in our history of struggle as African Americans here in America. And then with Sister Amatullah, I went to the Islamic source of courage, Prophet Muhammad, prayers and peace be upon him. So I'll stop with that.
Thank you. But before you go, brother, you, what would it look like for you not to have fear and to live courageously? You personally. What would you do different? What would you or keep doing? What would you personally do to live with courage or to live courageously? What
Well,
would you do?
what I see myself doing is challenging myself and others to to get past the social conditioning that have us playing small, so to speak. I've heard that language, playing small, not really challenging ourselves to overcome obstacles and barriers. We want an Islamic community. We have a structure. We're not getting the best out of it in most cases. And for those areas that don't have uh, organization, like here, I'll give an example. Here in Jacksonville, we have an excellent imam, um, but we are not organized for progress. We don't have an internal structure to address issues internally as well as externally, and I think too many of us are looking to Imam Yahya to do it all. He has contacts and he has other, he's moving in a direction, but we're not organized. We've got Friday Juma, uh, Sunday, Sunday Islamic education when the Imam is in town and he travels a lot. The brothers, we're not meeting. We started to meet. We made two attempts. There was an attempt over the weekend for the brothers to meet, but I looked at it as being, uh, I don't know. I'll just reserve my comments on this weekend's meeting. But in spite of the challenges, I'm encouraged to get in where I fit in and to do what I can do and ask Allah for the help that we need for these critical issues that are in front of us. Thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you another question. I'm purposely doing this as we prepare to get ready for this next phase of not just these elections, but
Yeah,
civic engagement. All
yeah.
right. So you said that everybody's putting anything on uh, Man Yahya and that you brothers need to meet. What can you do to make that happen? If you
Well,
lived with courage and without fear, and how can you push it forward? What you personally, what one thing can you do?
well, I say what I did this weekend after Juma. I was talking to a brother. I consider him a resourceful person. He's not the local imam, but he has been in the imam position. And I'm hearing all of this. I was willing to disagree with him very forcefully in how he was seeing where we are and challenging him to do more. We have to do individually, we have to find a way to do more to prepare ourselves for success. If we don't have an organizational structure, we're not prepared for success. So I challenged him, and uh, he said what he said, and I said what I said. I challenged the brothers that were having a meeting this weekend. You know, if you're talking about buying farmland, and first of all, was that a Shura Bainahum idea or just one or two individuals' idea? And lastly, we got a sizable property for gardening in the back of the masjid. Why don't we start there? First things first. Let's garden and utilize what we have before talking about purchasing farmland and who's qualified to manage the farmland, this kind of thing, So I'll stop with that.
So you were
Sir,
he provoked more thought. Do you see that as your role, Brother Michael, as someone to um encourage? I'll use encourage is not as an aggressive term. More thought and
Yes, ma'am.
strategy.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Okay.
I do. But the platform and finding people like you have found Imam Muhammad Abdul Alim and others that know how to articulate the direction that we need to move in according to the Quran, helping individuals to grow beyond, our small space, in terms of how we see ourselves. And foremost, asking Allah for the help that we need, begging Him for the help that we need, because we've got enemies that are big, big, and we've got this work that is even bigger. So, yes. Also, investing, I found an individual who's working outside of the masjid that is uh, that is involved in real estate. And I had asked Allah to help me to find, I'm 78. Well, what can I do to be more investment minded, in terms of, going for some money? And I found someone that has the same idea and values, and I'm working with him.
Well, on this program, a couple of years ago, I'm sure that I shared a frustration I had when I was living in Chicago. And this probably happened in maybe 76 or 77. And I managed to have a meeting with Imam Muhammad um, after making some uh, maneuvers around the gatekeepers. And I shared my
Yeah.
frustration with him. I shared my frustration with him, and feeling that I had something to offer to the community, because at that time, it was the first time that I was working outside of the community since I had gotten my ex back in New York. And so it was about 7 years, 7 or 8 years since I had worked outside of our community structure. And certainly the experience is different when at that time, when you worked in the community, um, than when you worked outside of the community. But it was good for me because with the teachings that we got at that time in the nation, and then when Imam Muhammad came, it just, the encouragement as far as development, individual progress, which I hear that you're talking about. Anyway, I just told him that I felt frustrated, um, that what I felt I wanted to give to the community there in that environment, it was not it was not helping me to give that in the community. So this is the advice that he told me. He said, well, sister, you have a project, you have an interest, you have something that you really are committed to, then find a few people. He said, you don't need a lot of people. Find maybe 4 or 5 or so, a small group of people, and you can trust them. And you all share the same interests and you feel that you can work together. Go ahead and follow that interest, organize yourselves, and follow through with what your interest is. and don't let anyone stop you. So it seems like that you have taken the first steps in that direction. In other words, he was telling us, we had come from a structure of, you got to check with Chicago, you got to check with Chicago, you got to check with the chief imam, you got to do this. And what he was saying, what I interpreted from him, wasn't advice that I got from him through a third party. I'm sitting across the table talking with him. And so that has been my MO ever since, that if I'm really invested in something, it's something that I feel that is good for the community, it's good for my family, and I'm really committed to it. I try to seek out others who have that same interest and then just go to work. We don't have to ask anyone's permission to go and do it. So it seems like what you related, Brother Michael, is what you have done, inshallah. And I say that to anyone who hears this broadcast, because that's good advice. And that's one way, because enemies are going to come against you. And we know that in the structure that we had in the Nation of Islam, it was a planned effort to destroy the good works of the Nation of Islam. So as the Imam came into position, it was the enemies, they had their plans, and they had the machination to try and keep their plans working and causing confusion and this, that, and the other. But that's okay.
Yeah.
He stood us up to say, you can have small contingents, and that strategically, that is the best, because, they can come against one big body, but if you got 20, 30, 40, 50 bodies, they're going to have to come up with another plan of how they're going to destroy the progress that you make. Yeah.
Yes.
So just food for thought.
So thank you. Now, Sister Amatullah, Ronnie, I know you've been waiting patiently, and then Sister Mahasan after that. So, yes, Sister.
You're on mute, Amatullah. There you go.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Yes. Yes. Well, first I wanted to say that I'm in transit, and so I'm going to go on and make my comments, and then I'll go back on mute. But in regard to the question that you asked, I think that probably I would just speak up more in terms of correcting things that are done in my presence that I either disagree with or actually know them to not be correct. And sometimes I would just not say anything, especially if it may not have been received in the past. So I guess that would be courage to say it, or I don't know, maybe after a certain period of time, maybe it's not courage anymore. You just realize what you're dealing with and leave it alone or what. So anyway, but that was the first thing that came to mind, that sometimes it may be a little fear of reactions or whatever that may keep me from saying something.
Right.
So that was my
No,
comment.
that's a good one. That's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sister Mahasan.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Walaikum assalam.
Alhamdulillah, good to see your faces and feel your spirits today. Sister Cheryl, I'm glad you continued with this ice-breaking activity. It's very stimulating. And speaking of stimulation, I remember growing up, my mother used to spend what I consider a lot of time and teaching it and encouraging us to take the initiative on things. She believed when we demonstrated or had fun as children in doing interesting things or attempting things we didn't know if we could do or be successful with, and we succeeded, she would compliment us all the time on the courage to take the initiative. And as I'm listening to these responses, I'm hearing and not hearing much about the power of taking initiative, especially when you are filled with aspirations, ideas, big dreams, possibilities, expansion, power. And as I follow the events that are happening around the world, the global events that are changing situations, I find that the one of the major ingredients that they talk about in being grateful for success is that they had big dreams, dreams that maybe were unusual for the crowd or the group. But even as an individual, if they had a dream, they were blessed with the initiative to exercise it, to do something about it, to see what they could accomplish, to bring it into view. And one of the biggest examples of success factors for me is I follow the fight for sovereignty that's taking place in Burkina Faso under the presidency or leadership of Ibrahim Traore. And I follow the documentaries and the YouTube presentations that can keep you very preoccupied in following their success. I'm so proud of the initiative that their commitment and courage has led them to express, and how with the aspirations that he communicates to his country, it's taken hold. It's been infectious in terms of his community, his country, his people, and they've come alive again. I'm talking about the difference between when they were under a different leadership before the coups and everything, but they've experienced a renewal in their spirit. And we've experienced that here. We've been with our community long enough, Sister Amatullah, to see several iterations of being made new, being made a new people, thinking about things in a different way, having a bigger dream, enlarging our dream, and finding that before we can get the dream capsulized, Allah has provided and expanded not only aspiration, but He's given us expanded inspiration. And we've been able to do phenomenal things, big group or small group, or even individually.
So, Sister Mahassan, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
What, for you personally, I see you, brother Muhammad Sharif, you're next. So what, because I know we got our guests coming on pretty soon. So what about you personally, though? I know you just spoke about, the we, but this question, like I said earlier to other people, this question is personal. About you, what would you do to live more courageously? What is one thing that you can do to live more courageously?
Well, actually, Sister Cheryl, I live so courageously now that I get a lot of
Okay,
feedback.
okay, what would you do? What would you
Can I
continue
finish?
to do then? What would you
All right.
continue to do then? Give us one
All
thing,
right.
because I know I got other people with hands up. So I just want to know one thing you would continue to do then.
I know.
Tell
And
us that.
guess what? I'm going to limit it, because when I get to storytelling, all of a sudden the time
I
abbreviates, but
know.
that's okay. Okay. So
No, it's fine. It's fine. Go ahead.
I don't have one thing. I'm presently a board of 3 associations, grandparents around the world, right? Also, the Mother's Reading Institute. I work with the state of New York right now in the literacy campaign and initiative. I'm doing all of this right now.
Okay.
So I can't
Okay.
limit it. Let me finish. I can't limit it to one thing
Okay.
because I don't roll like that. Okay. I'm always doing multitasking. And that's what I encourage people. If people want to have courage, is courage to do more and be more. I'll stop right there.
No, but that's what you just said is a thing, right? Be more, do more. That is a thing. That's what I'm looking
I
for. So
mean,
I think that right there is a thing. It doesn't have to be specific, do this, but saying do more, be more is a thing. So I appreciate that. That is
alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I that's actually on one of my social media. I think it's on LinkedIn or something. You know, do more, be more, and it makes you better. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Sister Mahasan. That's beautiful.
Allahu
Um,
Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. Brother Muhammad Sharif, you're up, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Alaikum assalam. Thank you, Sister Mahasan. We're getting feedback, darling.
Really?
Yes, we get feedback from your line. I think are you on the phone? I think that's what it is. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead, Brother Muhammad.
Yes, what I would do is get more people to read the Muslim Journal, to get the paper copy or go online. You go
I
online,
love it.
you can read just like reading a book. You can flip the pages if you go online.
I love it. It's
Yeah.
specific action, but that's a powerful, powerful thing to do. I love it. Love it. And you personally
Mhm.
are
Personally,
are yes.
what I do what I'm doing now, tell more people to buy and read the Muslim Journal, because there, the Imam said
That's what I
one
mean.
time that he
Yeah.
read the Muslim Journal from front to back. And we know the
Love
heavy responsibility he had on himself. But he read the paper. And that was indication for us to do the same thing. I'm looking at one journal here. That says the March 7th through the 20th, because it comes out 2 weeks now. We fell
Mhm.
down so far of supporting the Muslim Journal. It used to come out every week. Now can't afford to come out every week. Now people come out every 2 weeks. That's a
Mm.
terrible shame on us. People coming out every week for 60 years, and now it comes out every 2 weeks. I'm looking at
Wow.
this article here says one woman's refusal. I'm trying to find the front page on this one. One refusal. This is a eternal salute to Reverend Dr. Jesse L. Jackson Sr. That's the front page. I'm going to page, it looks like it's page 20. One woman's refusal. Importance of federal governor Lisa Cook's stance against presidential pressure. We all should be getting behind her. She stand up against President Trump.
Mm.
We don't know this because we're not getting the paper. The Muslim
Right.
Journal, article Muhammad Ali, front page. United States Postal Service has issued a Muhammad Ali Forever stamps. Yeah, about 3 weeks ago, my wife went to a big station downtown Manhattan. You know how big Manhattan is. All sold out. Came back to my small area here, Mount Vernon. We got 2 different post offices, sold out. That's because evidently we didn't, none of us, it seemed like we didn't like Muhammad Ali. Stamp is out, and we wouldn't even go and ask for the stamp, and then he sold out. So I think I said it once before, and since Cheryl, you said you had been telling people, you had bought the stamp and telling people to do the same thing. That's why I said I want to continue to do what I'm doing and pushing the Muslim Journal. And one other thing is stop. We got to stop. This is no reflection on anyone. You know what I'm saying about attacking a person that's in office, like President Trump. Now, what would happen if he starts attacking Imam W.D. Muhammad? What would we do if he starts attacking our leader like we attacking their leader? Well, I'll say their leader. Yeah, we gotta kind of back up off from that. Yeah, we stop attacking the leader because someone attack your leader. What are you gonna see? This would bring us to the test. I mean, I think I better stop there. Thanks for taking my comments.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, Brother Muhammad, because I was thinking about that yesterday morning. And I said I was going to pose a question to Imam Shuaib about that, to get his advice or directing to sources to read, because Amatullah Alaji, she corrected us on that several months ago. I tried to restrain myself to some extent. And I know that Imam Muhammad, he spoke on that in a lecture that I heard. It was in reference to he took the stand that he would not, in a public situation, criticize another Muslim leader. At the time, people were trying to get him to be critical of Minister Farrakhan. And so that question came up in my mind. And Michael Hameen, you might have some information on this too, or anyone. The Prophet, peace be upon him, he did send letters to leaders of other lands. He stood up in Mecca and he spoke against what the leaders there in Mecca was allowing to happen, right? He didn't back down. And so there's an adab to when you stand up. And so I want clarification on that, because if I look at this current situation, and I think what made me think about it too, because next week I have editor Aisha Mustafa on, and Sister Rashid from the Muslim Museum, inshallah. They'll be able to participate on the program next week. But I do know that there is an adapt, and I think that once we are maybe more informed and educated about the adab means the etiquette that you have to use when you're being critical of, well, the adab, it's just talking about etiquette in general. But right now, I'm focusing in on when we critique leadership. And I think that we do have the freedom to critique leadership. I think it's the way that you do it that is the thing that we have to learn. And Brother Muhammad, I understand where you're coming from, because in the Quran, Allah tells us, don't criticize other religions for fear that they will criticize yours. And so I get your point, and that is what was in my mind. And perhaps we will pursue that line of thought in upcoming broadcasts. That might help us, because
Yeah.
we have we're citizens of this country. We do have the right of freedom of speech, and but the Quran and the example of the Prophet is, as Muslims, should be our number one guidance and priority. And so I'm just looking for more clarity in that vein.
Yeah. I see you, brother Michael. Give me one second. Is 7888 brother Mustafa's number, sister, that we're waiting for from Brother Fleming?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Uh,
Maybe we can ask if 7888, are you Mustafa Shabazz?
got his hand up.
He's unmuted. Are you Mustafa Shabazz? Last digit 7888.
That's brother Bilal, the poet,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So
I
give
believe.
us one. Okay, Bilal Poe, give us 1 second. We have you in the queue to speak. Brother
Looks
Michael,
like
I
he
mean,
dropped off.
Yes,
no,
yeah,
he's still there. He's still
yeah.
there. He's still there. Before you say anything, I'm glad this was brought up. Give us 1 second. I'm glad this was brought up. I know I tend to take a very cautious position on this for a couple of reasons, mostly because, I a lot of times I must from a political standpoint, because, well, from a political standpoint, I have to be careful what I say so it doesn't come back to bite me, so to speak, or or to harm me. And but from a very realistic standpoint, because I have to work with the administration a lot, uh, and I shouldn't say have to, but I do work with the administration. I don't have to do anything, but I do work with the administration a lot. And the last week or so, I have been in DC working closely with the administration. They are the ones in charge. And I just take the view that for me, it really doesn't matter which ones are in charge. For most of the work that I do, whether it's for utilities, water, infrastructure, uh, civil justice, injustice sometimes, work, disability advocacy, any of it, it really doesn't have a party attached. It has humanity attached. And I try to, even in my daily work, I try to separate people and personalities from policy. And I think that policy work is grounded in humanity. And the people are going to come and go. Personalities are going to come and go. And it's very difficult. And I know that it's not for everyone. And not everyone can do what, not everyone can have that presence of mind or the ability to do that. It's very, very difficult. And I've been told that by a lot of the people who I mentor or who work with me, because they're like, how do you do it? How are you able to turn it off and sit at a table with particular people who have a particular view or mindset? Doesn't it bother you? And my answer is usually no, it doesn't. I know who I am, and I know who I am in my core. And I know that when negotiating something, you have to see what it is that drives them. And I'm able to, one of the thrills for me, and I'm going to answer my own icebreaker question a little bit, and I'm going to come back and answer it after I let Brother Michael speak, is that I get a thrill out of changing the other person and making them think it's their own idea by using using it against them and letting them think it's their idea to come over to the other side and do something in a different way than they thought that they were going to be able to, by simply sitting back and listening and having them move from this very critical, criticizing, almost inhumane standpoint to doing exactly what I came in there to do without yelling or forcing or being criticizing or being diminishing or I can't think of the word I really want to say, or finger pointing or shaming in that way, and getting them to come to the conclusion that we want them to come to in their own way. And it's a skill, and it's one that I've honed over time. Now, there's some things I can't do. I'm very well aware of that, but that's one that I can do, and I'm pretty good at that one. And I think that's part of what Brother Sharif said is really important, because I know that in business, no one is and in politics it's the same. No one is your permanent enemy, and no one is your permanent friend or ally, ever. Ever. In politics, it's the same. And I have seen it in action. And I think that watching people reach the conclusion that they are, I'm going to use this word even though I don't like using it a lot, they are wrong but they don't want to say that they're wrong. And so that their way of admitting that they're wrong is to try and rectify policy, or to rectify, or to pass a bill, or to do something without admitting that they're wrong. And so they try and do it this backdoor way. And the way you can do that is that if you haven't caused harm, they try and do it that way. And so not criticizing or blatantly, because you can criticize without blatantly criticizing, is a tactic. And I remember talking to one of our favorite men, El-Amin, about this strategy before. So I think it's so. Brother Michael.
Thank you. And this is an important topic and a subject that Muhammad Sharif has brought up. Um, there are standards that we have in the Quran and in how Prophet Muhammad behaved, even with enemies. I think there's one comment in the Quran about, you can address your enemy in such a way that you think that people would, looking at the exchange, would think that you may be friends. And your tactic or approach, Sister Honorable Cheryl, is one that is heavily used by negotiators and so forth. We have to negotiate for better behavior. This is something that we're given in terms of how Prophet Muhammad dealt with enemies, uh, and those in opposition within his family and outside of his family. And so, yes, it's very important. And the Quran talks about it. We can, let me first say, this country has a history of the leaders and the common folks uh, being emotional, particularly in dealing with political affairs. Emotionality, insulting, it can feel at the moment very empowering, but to disrespect a person's humanity is going to be problematic for any kind of future negotiations. And we've seen the administration in the past uh, insulting, using behavior and language that is unbecoming of intelligent people. And so the Quran speaks about a group of people being able to stand up for universal values of excellence, as well as condemning not the individuals, but the condemning of those that the type of behavior and language that is unbecoming of a human being, an intelligent human being. So yes, this is a very important subject, We can disagree. I can disagree without insulting his potential to change. I can disagree with his business practices of the past of not paying the contractors that he's dealt with and telling them to take him to court. I can disagree with that. It's not ethical behavior. But I don't need to call him a bum and just insulting language, even though it may make me feel better. That's not the best way to approach opposing views. Thank you.
I wanted
Thank
to
you.
share something. I agree with what you said, Brother Michael, and with what Cheryl will say. I'll share something from from my own lived experience in having to be a negotiator in a contract negotiation for 18,000 people that my union was representing. And there was a situation in one of the meetings where we're meeting with it's my team and the other team. We're meeting. And one of the members of my team was a young woman, and she spoke. Now, the other side was off balance because we insisted on not using the standard negotiating technique where you just have the chief negotiators do all the talking. So that was the first thing that had them kind of on their back foot. And so one member of my team's young woman, she was down from Southern California, and she spoke about how at the end of the month, she would have to eat cornflakes for dinner because she didn't have enough money to go to payday. And she shared a few other things. And so I could see on the other side of the table, I could see members of the other team, not the chief negotiator, because he was a pretty heartless kind of guy. But I could see 2 or 3 women on that side who one of them looked like she was on the verge of crying. And so we realized that our team was not able to impact the other team the way we wanted to. We couldn't use Cheryl's technique of making people think that it was their idea. But what we did have was a member of our team. He was from the South too, from LA. And after every session, he would write his summary. It wasn't from the official union. This is him as an individual exercising his freedom of speech. And he wouldn't give specifics of what went on because you're not supposed to share specifics of the negotiations. But he would rip that chief negotiator on the university side to shreds. I mean, I would even feel sorry for the guy. But the guy that would write for, who was on our side, who would write, he was an actor and he was a very literate person. He was a writer also, script writer. So he had the skills. So his little summary was called Bert's Bubble, became so powerful in helping us to move the university because, they didn't care that members of our unit, had a chance to read this and know what was going on and that it was making the university look so bad. But people in Sacramento was looking at it. Every time his came up, people in Sacramento looked at it. And we had our lobbyists to make sure people in Sacramento looked at it. And then when we went up to Sacramento to testify, because our point was that the university has $20 billion in reserve. And our economist has exposed how they have taken millions of dollars and misrepresented what funds they were in, rather than to bring people up to a living wage. So what I'm sharing that is sometimes I agree. You don't attack the person or the personality. It's the behavior that you were speaking against. And that's what Brother Michael brought up. But you also sometimes have an option if you're dealing directly with someone in negotiation to bring in an outside force that can bring pressure to bear on the people that you're negotiating with. Now, in our current federal system, you would think that the Supreme Court, and with checks and balances, the Congress people, and the senators, that they would also bring pressure on the executive branch. They're not doing that. That's not happening. And so my question is, what is the proper adab for us to use as leaders when we speak out? And I think that if we don't speak out, that we're derelict in our responsibilities if we call ourselves leaders. If we don't challenge the behavior, and with these elected officials, their behavior is very often reflected in the policies that they put forth, in the laws that they try to pass. And that takes me back to that Bob Marley song. You can't have justice when the criminals are making the law. You can't have justice when the criminals are making the law. Brother Michael had his hand up, Cheryl. I don't know if you wanted to. Let me get it.
Yeah,
Maybe we should get
yeah,
a
I
time
do.
check. Yeah.
We do. We have it. It's 11:07. It's
Yeah, I don't know
11:07.
what's happening with Brother Mustafa.
I don't either. I'll wait for him. I'll text Brother Fleming while Brother Michael's talking. I do, and I love that you took it back to Bob Marley's song because I think, look, I'm known for, I mean, every time I go somewhere, someone says, thank you for speaking truth to power, truth to power. That's like my moniker that someone calls me. I think it's the way that you do it. You want to, I think I agree with you wholeheartedly, 100%, that we have a responsibility to call out injustice. We have a responsibility to speak truth. And to where I think is, if I gather what you were saying, it's how we do it, right? In the adab is how we do it. I was just looking, I had a note on my in my notes in my phone. I always keep these notes in my phone. And one of them is that the best jihad is a word of truth before an unjust ruler,
Mm-hmm.
from Prophet Muhammad, right?
Right.
But it also says that
Oh, I think you froze. Well, one thing about the Prophet, be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, wait until Cheryl, her connection is, she's on the East Coast, probably in a conference room or in a hotel room, waiting for a next conference or meeting. The Prophet, we look at him, he was not just a religious leader, he was a businessman, he was which involved negotiation. He was a general, he was in the battle. It's easy for these people to declare wars if they're not going to be fighting the war. The prophet was in the battle. He was injured in battles. So he's he's a mercy to all the worlds. That's what Allah, God, tells us in the Quran, and an excellent example to us. And so when we look at the totality of what he did, he was a commander of an army. He was a governor. He was a leader. He was all of these things to take care of the totality of the life there in Medina. And he suffered before, he physically suffered injury before going to Medina and being able to make the hijrah, the flight to Medina, and establishing the Islamic community there. So we all just have to study more to be able to extract from his example those things that apply to us today. and to be better students of the Quran and of the life example of the Prophet. And I do remember it may have been in one of the last Ramadan sessions that the Imam gave. It was one of the last lectures towards the end of his life in this realm when he was saying we have to study the life of Prophet Muhammad, as well as the Quran, the scripture, the revelation that he brought from Allah, the creator of us all, um, for us to be able to get a complete picture of how do we navigate in this world? How do we navigate in this world with because some of the same problems that the Prophet and the first community of Muslims experienced, we experience them here today, 1447 years later. So that's all I have to say. Cheryl, you were making a point before you got stuck.
Yeah, before I got knocked off. Maybe they didn't like my point.
I guess they didn't.
The little
Okay,
gremlin.
Google. Okay, Google. Okay,
Yeah,
Google.
the little Zoom gremlins. My only point is, and then I see Brother Hameen and Bilal. I just wanted to say that, I think that if we're giving, really sincere, I don't like the word constructive because I don't think all feedback has to be constructive. Sometimes criticism is truth, and sometimes truth doesn't feel constructive. Sometimes it depends on, how it's delivered. But I do think that if the public criticism can be interpreted as humiliation, if it can be seen as insulting in a way that is purposely going to be dehumanizing, then you have to really consider what is your purpose for delivering the so-called feedback. If your purpose is to call out the injustice, if your purpose is to speak out against like the Pope's purpose, I see the Pope's purpose is to speak out against what he considers to be inhumanity. And and he's not saying it in a way that is engaging in this battle of humiliation, whereas on the opposite side, the response has been swift, trying to humiliate the Pope. I think there's a difference there than in name calling and shaming and things of that nature. Whereas some of the things that are happening is people name calling. He's a president. So whether he deserves it or not, the office itself deserves the respect. The office itself deserves the upholding of dignity. As I said, I try to see past the person and the personality and look at the bigger. If we degrade the office, regardless of the individual, you degrade the office. And so I think speaking to not publicly humiliate, not using foul language, not using insults, not using condemnation doesn't mean that you agree with the person or the personality. My grandmother used to say, we don't change who we are because of who they are. You maintain your dignity, you maintain your character at all times, regardless of the other person. So or the other people, you can speak and talk about injustice. You can speak and talk about inhumanity. You can speak and talk about what you see that needs to be changed without belittling and insulting and using language that goes against your core value, without publicly humiliating or cursing or going against who you are, so that it doesn't lead to this fitna, right? Whether it's internal or external, because that's not who you are. And we don't want to represent because it's not just us. They will see all Muslims, especially those of us who are hijabi Muslimas. Could you see? I remember when, really quickly, you remember when there was a hot mic in the bar when Sister Rashida used that language when she was a freshman legislator, and she ended up apologizing for it, but she was terribly embarrassed by it, and she said so. She said, I was just so emotionally upset by this man. And so you don't want to be seen coming out of your character because you're upset. So public condemnation is one thing, and just speaking truth. You have that duty to speak out, but speak it in a way that still maintains who you are, who we are, and that you feel like you're representing the community in the way that the community can still stand in its truth. That's what I mean.
But yeah, Allah tells us in the Quran, "O you who believe, do not let another people's action cause you to act in another way than a believer."
And that's all I'm saying.
That's what your grandmother was saying too.
Yes, yes, ma'am. So it was let's go with Brother Bilal, and then we'll come back to you, Brother Michael. I know you had your hand up. So go ahead, sir. We see your hand up. You're on the air.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Praise be
assalam.
to Allah. Allahu Akbar. Yeah,
Allahu
if we gonna speak the truth, and they got issue, they got conduct that we have when we go into war, and then they got telling the truth. If I'm going to war on the battlefield with you, but we talking about killing now, and that's the way we gonna do that too. So and we got the manner of telling truth against, speaking out against injustice. So we follow whatever fit for the occasion. Now, if you get angry and you don't get angry, and you're not supposed to get angry, right? And you got it, that don't mean that person didn't deserve it, though.
Well, isn't Allah the judge of whether they deserve it or not?
Yeah. So alhamdulillah. Oh yeah, and one thing I want to say also, learning about the charter, the Medina charter, that was on my mind. I think I'm gonna do a whole big study on that. Kareem Amin did it a long time ago, but he didn't get the response that I knew that he should have got, even for myself. But I think that'd be excellent for the community to go over that charter, and we'll be more effective in the political arena and everything in our life also, could be building community life.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you for your comment.
Alhamdulillah.
Michael Hameen.
Yes, thank you. How do we protect ourselves against those who are only getting wet? They don't feel the rain, the insensitivity, large numbers, history has shown us individuals. Marie Antoinette comes to my mind. The crowds are out protesting. Well, let them eat cake,
Okay, that's what she said.
She's just getting wet. She doesn't feel the rain, the insensitive. So what do we do? How do we affect people who are stony hearted? And in my view, what I'm seeing is they're trying to undermine our system of government and bring something different in altogether. So what do we do? How do I'm looking at those thinkers, political and strategic thinkers, you know, can we use the law? These are questions. Can we use the law more effectively in challenging this lawlessness? Is there any way that we can hold back, really go into survival mode instead of continuing in the face of this different reality, just going along as consumers and spending? Can we be more effective in terms of changing that into investments into better relations with our family, with our neighbors, and so forth? So, questions need to be asked in terms of how we can effectively deal with this season that we're in, and also look at what was my part in terms of bringing this season on. You know, could I have done something? Could we have done something to keep? And we know, you know, voting was an issue. Many people, and it's a strategy of people with this oppressive strategy. They create anxiousness and hopelessness to the point. Well, what's the use in my voting? They're going to do what they're going to. You know, it's a strategy that they're using to affect our sensitivities and against being courageous enough to say, well, I've got an obligation to my own self to vote against this oppressive these oppressive political figures, you know. So we need conversations that will stimulate us thinking and considering, you know, that you know empowerment in in logical movement rather than empowerment in terms of emotional uh, not responses, but emotional reactions. You know, in a battle, in any kind of battle, whether it be physical or otherwise, you have to maintain. You have to keep your head, so to speak. You know, you have to stay present so that you don't so that you can avoid, you know, uh, punches and avoid certain attacks. And we need those that understand the utility of law, the utility of an awareness of the psychology of the oppressors, you know, to keep us aware. Look, don't let them look. This we see the imposition of this fear tactic to cause a fight or flight response or a possum response, as I call it, you know, to get the people to freeze and not do anything, you know, just become inactive. So those that understand the psychology of oppressors have to share this. You know, we have to create an environment that will make people aware, you know, of what's coming at them. Thank you.
You know, um, I was getting ready to answer you guys. I mean, I give you the question. I always give you the icebreaker question, and then we enter into the conversation on purpose. And I usually hold off on answering the question myself for a reason. And this one in particular, you can think of a bunch of different ways to say this. You know, stop and smell the roses, you know, live in the moment, all of the good things. But this one is especially meaningful because there's another saying in like especially in the Caribbean, they say this thing where they say most men die at 20, but we bury them at 80.
Hmm.
Let that sink in for you. We bury the body at 80. I think it says something like this. So you hear us say we wrap up this show all the time and we talk about life is about perspective, right? But this particular quote is like that. It's about perspective. It's about presence. It's about it. You can have the same experience as everybody else. You can have 10, 15, 20, 100 people walking out in the rain. You can have, right now, is it Meta or somebody just laid off 30,000 people? All these people are experiencing hardship around the world. And some will embrace it and consider it that it's transformative, like rain is transformative. It's spring. It's raining all over the world. You have tornadoes and hurricanes and rainstorms and floods and all of these things going on. And you have some people who are really upset and in arguing about Mother Nature and the world just harming them. And then, just a moment, I need my cord. And then you have people who are looking at then you have people who are looking at the world and saying, you know, why me? Woe is me? Why am I going through this? And you have those one few people who say, this is life cycle. These are part of the world. Oh, when you feel the rain, if you watch little children with galoshes on and the big yellow slicker or the funny, the ones with all the little cartoon characters on it or the little fun, color dots or whatever. And you watch them and they put on the boots. They don't want to put on the boots. That's us who want them to put on the boots. They don't even want to put on the boots. If you let them go out in socks or barefoot in the mud, they'd be happy. Think back to your own childhood. Some of us can think a little, don't have to think so far, but you can think back. Or if you have grandchildren, think about when they're at their happiest. They like being in that mud. They like being in the rain. Is something about it. You throw them out there in the rain and they don't want to put on their coat. They don't want to put on, and you probably didn't either. Some children, you have to fight them to put on shoes and socks. Mine were like this. It was me, because I don't like germs. And then I turned around and they had the socks off. They had the shoes off. Walking around barefooted. It was like driving me. And when we get them to the beach, they were so happy. It's the sand in the toes, it's the water in the toe. And they were feeling the water. And then when it started raining, those flash rains in the islands and the flash rain in, even when we were in like Florida or Southern Cali, you get the flash rain and they just stand there like this. And they were feeling it. That's that. You hear about mindfulness and presence and being in the moment. That's what that is. It's not this corporate feeling about mindfulness. It's just living in the moment rather than being on autopilot and just going through life. Many of us do that. How many of us look at a challenge instead of a hardship when we see something that happens in life and say, there's beauty in difficulty. Now I get to prove my mettle. METTLE rather than METAL. I get to prove that I'm really as good as I think I am when a challenge comes up, rather than woe is me. Feeling the rain means you're alive. If you can feel it, you're alive. It's a choice. It's a choice of attitude. It's a choice of perspective. It's a choice of, you can't control when the rain comes down, but you can control how you react to it. You control how you can feel it. You can control how you can experience the rain. Some of you have never seen me in person, so you don't know this, so I'm going to tell you a little fact. So I use 4-arm crutches to walk, so I can't carry an umbrella. It's amazing to me how every time I go somewhere, somebody is offering me an umbrella when it rains. And I'm like, okay, would you like me to like shove it down my back and let it sit there? I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with this umbrella. but I wear a job. And so I'm never worried about the rain. It is what it is. If I have a jacket with a hood on it, I might put it up. But most of the time, I like the way it feels. It's just an attitude. And my attitude is, it's just water. I have a jacket on, my clothes don't get wet. But my attitude is just rain. It's just water. It's just water. It's nature's way of cleansing the world. So what would I do? If to live courageously is to admit that I can't control everything. And that's okay. And the second part of that is the part that's courageous for me anyway. That is okay. That's for me to live courageously, because I think that a lot of people think that already because they say it all the time, but I'm not your hero. I just want to feel the rain. And I want people to do that. Feel the rain. Feel the rain. Someone posted, where is this generation's MLK or Malcolm X? Where are we going to get people who really are going to stand up and speak out? I've been thinking about that a lot. And I don't think we have to be a version of someone else. So I said, I have no aspiration to be someone else, but I do have an aspiration to be me, to speak out in a way that's authentic to me. So I think a lot of us in this XYZ, and then now we start all over AA. But I think I'm not fearful, but I think that I will be committing to encouraging more of us to speak without worrying about what you're giving up by speaking. And I don't mean just speaking a little bit or speaking where it's safe. Stepping out, stepping in, stepping up, stepping over. And trusting that it's going to be okay.
Okay, that's it.
That's mine. That's mine. Es todo. Es todo.
So, okay. Brother Fleming wanted us to see a video and have some discussion about it.
Okay. He sent it to you, right?
He sent it to us and Sister Manira and Martha. I don't know, AM360 that I see with the flowers. Is that Manira or Martha?
I was on here earlier, but I think that is her. She was on here earlier because I saw her face.
Who, Sister Manira?
Martha. Sister Martha. But she popped on at the beginning that because they have the control, right?
Well, I'm the host now, so I'll try to share this video. I don't know if the sound is going to come through. The way
Hit sound when you hit share. When you hit share, hit share sound.
share sound. Let's see if we can. He wanted us to have some of it and see what points. Let's see what happens.
There's no sound yet.
See why?
Son of the Nation of Islam.
There we go.
There we
Well, I
go.
know that was my parent helping my parents when they couldn't help me the way they wanted to help me. It was that movement, that organization, that helped my parents so I would have the help that I needed. A good place to live, food, protection from things that were harmful, etc. And you're talking about a global village. Up until I was 17 or 18, that's exactly what the Nation of Islam was, a global village. All of those who identified with my father and what he wanted to bring about, they cared about me just like they cared about their own children. And if they saw me in need, they would respond to me just like they would their own child, So that's the time that we remember in the life of the people that belonged to this association when they were called Nation of Islam and now. Yeah. But now the world has changed so I couldn't identify with the white man's world. I couldn't identify with the Christian world, the Christian people, the church. I couldn't identify with them. Because we were living in a time when blacks, African Americans, were discriminated against and didn't have even the government on our side. Some people in the government, certainly, but not the government on our side, to change ugly laws of the South, to make things right for us in the South and in the North. We didn't have that. See, this new time that we live in, it came about recently. But some of us are not aware. Just a few decades ago, we didn't have this. But now we do. We have this new freedom, this new awareness of the law favoring equal opportunity for all, regardless to race.
You're paying at the pump for Trump's dumb war. He's spending $1 billion a day bombing Iran just to jack up our prices. Tom Steyer is focused on what matters, cutting costs here at home. For a California we can afford, Tom Steyer for governor.
I'm trying to figure out how to skip. There we go. All right.
And the moral life has been so threatened over the past 30 or 40 years that the good forces have had to quietly work against the evil forces. Couldn't even show their hand, because if they did, they would have been defeated by the evil forces. So they had to work quietly to keep their own strength and fortification secured until the time changed and permitted them to come out with their forces. Times have changed. A new season is in America and in the world. Times have changed. And now they make themselves known. And little Wallace D. Muhammad used to call me WD when I was a boy. Little WD is an international president of one of the biggest organizations working for world peace and justice for all people that you can find on this earth. The World Conference of Religion and Peace, son of Elijah Muhammad, the little guy who was poor with the rest of the poor in his neighborhood on the south side, where there was a junkyard 2 blocks away and about 20 small whiskey houses, taverns, stretched along about 2 blocks from us. 1 block from us. Yes, 2 blocks from us on State Street. So whenever I went to the store, that's what I saw. I saw wine heads. I saw bums, both male and female wine heads and bums, and all these liquor stores. And looked like a church for every tavern. A little small storefront church for every tavern in that strip where we had to go because our stores that we had to trade with were on that strip too. That's the neighborhood I remember as a boy until I was about maybe 9 or 10 years old. We moved to a better neighborhood, but still with the poor, with the poorest of the poor of our kind in Chicago. Now here I am now meeting with these people on this high level. And I'm quite different from well-known preachers and politicians you know who went to colleges and got degrees. No degree, no college. But here I am, way up there. I know it's God's doing. And it only happened because this is the season for it. This is the season for it. Righteousness is on the rise. Righteousness is on the rise. And I remember I was frightened by the things, developments that I saw, not only in our community, but in this American society. Frightening to me. I said, if we don't battle hard, the forces of corruption going to get us all. We ain't going to be fit to exist on this planet, and Allah going to let us all be destroyed. So I desperately worked hard to call the members of the Nation of Islam, when I was your supreme minister, and later the members of the community that I lead under the new name, to consciousness, and to let you see the frightening things that I saw developing in our society, and that we all were going to be eliminated if we didn't wake up and make some real strong efforts to change things. An awakening time came for us to awaken to the evil forces that were working against the good human life. And I struggled with that, and I preached that, and you supported me enthusiastically, most of you. And now we have survived intact with our life and enjoying this beautiful sunny day, not in California, in the world. Praise be to Allah, it's a wonderful time. If you want to really better your own self, to do more, to make your own life improve and better, stop looking at your immediate small circumstances and thinking that that's all you got going for you. If all I had going for me was that little small one-level house I got in a town where there's an African-American mayor, and the whole town ain't got more than about 70,000 people in it, if that's all I had to look at, I would have no inspiration to do anything. But I see the real picture. I see the big world picture. I see the stage that God has prepared. And it's bigger than all our neighborhoods and all of our troubles that we're looking at. It's the real reality. So perk up. You have to look out beyond your immediate circumstances to live and prosper. There are a few things I want to say to Muslims. Most of what I'm going to say, I'm say it to any human being. It's for any decent human person. But mainly to Muslims, yes. Because this is our immediate task, is to deliver ourselves in good condition with respect, not only at home, but also abroad. That's what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wanted for us. Respect at home and abroad. This religion, Al-Islam, known by the abbreviated or shortened expression Islam. Islam. We have to understand it. We're saying we are Muslims. And we say our religion is Islam. We should understand it. We should know what we're saying we have. So my effort is firstly to help us know what we claim to be our religion better. The great scholar and leader, he was not only a scholar, but he was a community leader from Pakistan. He died several years ago, well, a good while ago now. I met him in the United States when he visited a couple of times, but I met him also on Mount Arafat during the Hajj.
You're paying at the pump for Trump's dumb war. He's spending $1 billion a day bombing Iran just to jack up our prices. Tom Steyer is focused on what matters, cutting costs here at home. For a California we can afford, Tom Steyer for governor.
I love finding pre-worn clothes, but it's difficult to clean clothes with tobacco odors and stains. That's because smoking leaves behind.
But over a decade ago, over 10 years ago, his name is Maulana Maududi. Before I met him, I was aware of him because my father, even when I was a young man, a young minister for my father had a book by Maulana Maududi in his collection of books in his library case. Maulana Maududi said of Islam, he said, it is an ideology and a message revealed by God for the rejuvenation and reform of the global community and its environment. So Islam didn't just come for Wallace. Islam is here from God for the whole world. And if Wallace responds to it and work hard to qualify for its great name, to wear it as a Muslim, then Wallace is going to rise not on 5308 South Wabash, where that bad strip was, not on 6026 Vernon, where field rats were so big the cats backed up. That's where I used to live.
Rent control, meant to keep prices down, often exacerbates.
Not on 6116 South Michigan, where the house that we lived in and the hen house that the city permitted us to have didn't look too much different. You might walk in the hen house thinking you were going in your own house. 2 frame structures, wood frame structures. No, not just for Wallace, who lived in those small places, but for the whole of mankind that occupy the whole world, rich and poor, wise and foolish, is for all of us. Presidents and citizens, common citizens, bankers and beggars, is for all of us. This religion of Islam. So this religion of Islam has already proved that it is for all of those people, because we find presidents of nations saying, I'm a Muslim. And they haven't just started doing that. They've been doing it for the whole time of history of Islam. Presidents of nations, rulers of nations, saying, my religion is Islam, I'm a Muslim. Bankers, generals of the army, people responsible for the earth under their feet and for the future of their citizens, saying, I'm a Muslim, my religion is Islam. So this religion pulls us up and lifts us up. We cannot lift this religion up. It's already up, way up, long before America was discovered, long before there was any European or white man on this land. Islam was high up in the sky and reaching down on the earth and pulling up bankers, making them presidents of banks, pulling up soldiers, making them generals of the army, pulling up the student, making him the educator for the whole nation. That's what Islam was doing before even America was occupied by a white man from Europe. So you can't give anything to this religion. This religion has all to give to you. I'm talking to the Muslims. I'm hoping that I will wake you up so you will get better benefit from your religion. You can't get benefit from something that you're not aware of, you don't know the value of. We can give you a Rolls-Royce card to go to work in tomorrow morning. But if you don't respect the value of that Rolls-Royce, you won't get benefit from it. Pretty soon we'll find it impound. Yeah. Or sitting on the wayside. Poor man can't even get the battery charged. This is no joke. This is serious. Spoonful of sugar helped the medicine go down, but the medicine is serious. An ideology for the rejuvenation and reform of the global environment and the whole of mankind. And that is exactly what Islam is. So Islam then is bigger than our life. We have a world to live in that's bigger than the space we need. See how God is? He didn't give you a world that's just big enough for your space you want or need. He gave you a world that's much, much bigger, so many times bigger than the space you need to live in. And it makes us very comfortable, doesn't it? Because we know we can live here for generations and generations, and this world will always have room for us. Yes. I know about population explosion and all that. That's just like weeds growing. Pretty soon the weeder will be coming in. Don't worry. The weeder will be coming soon. And it won't be thick for long. Get ready for it. A new day is coming. And I hope you're not one of the weeds. You'll be gone, buddy, in the incinerator. Up in smoke. Ashes can't be found. Disappeared in the wind. I'm conscious of the high worth or value of my religion, Islam. I'm conscious of that. And that motivates me to improve my own personal value so that I am not a discredit to this great name I wear. I don't want to misrepresent and be discredit to this great name I wear. This great name I wear is a motivation for me to improve my own personal worth and value. Can you see it the same way? If you can, then do more about your own life. put your own personal life in better condition. Keep improving your own personal value. Muhammad the Prophet said, the obligation to acquire knowledge is on a Muslim from the cradle to the grave. From the cradle to the grave. That's what he said. So don't buy the defeatist spirit of this world. Well, I'm too old now. Oh, yeah, well, I used to be pretty good in school. You're never out of school. The universe is your school. God created earth, life, the sky, weather, everything to provoke our intelligence, to signal our intelligence, messages to our intelligence, and make us think, and make us want to know more, make us register more, make us record more from the universe for the growth of our own personal minds, plus this wonderful work of civilization to bring about more literacy, and more education in the masses, in the public. You have all that going for you. Television has problems, but it's a great educator. So many educational programs on it, straight from God's created world, the natural world in its nature, and also from fine institutions like we find out here in California, Stanford and others. You can't get the full benefit of your own life that God wants for you if you're not even conscious that you have circumstances favoring you, growing and becoming more successful. Conscious. Don't be just conscious of that you're black and white's got more than you. Be conscious of that you're human and God wants for you what he wants for white folks. Be conscious of that.
I just want to check in with folks because time is upon us. We do have more space where we can continue. We have about 20 minutes, I think, of this particular video. So I just want to check in and see what the consensus is. Should we try to continue with the video
Please.
or save it for another time? Those who can, if you want to continue, if you put your hand up and see how many people want to continue. We have 3 people. There are 11 of us, well, 10 of us on the call or on the Zoom. If you got 4,
Looks like Muhammad Sharif came off of mute.
okay, if you don't know how to raise your hand, you can say yay or nay.
Yeah. It's like Miss Lala's on here twice, so you can't count her twice.
Right.
I'll stay as long as I can. I do have a meeting to go to, so but I'll stay as long as I can.
AM360, you want to either put your hand up or say yay or nay. Muhammad Sharif, you want to put your hand up or say yay or nay? Ismail, I know that sometimes you're not in a situation where you can talk.
Yes, I can stay on longer.
Okay, that's 2, 4, 5. We got 1, 2, we got 3 more people that I haven't heard from. 3, 6, 9. 5 and 2 is 7. So There's four who I haven't heard from. Sharifa Muhammad. Israel, you might not be able to talk on AM360.
Yeah.
And Sister Cheryl's going to stay as long as she can.
Yeah, I'll just be in the background. And then, sister, you got to count
Four,
yourself.
There's six of us.
Yeah.
Okay, so you feel comfortable with going on? I'll resume it then.
Yes.
About 15 more minutes.
Oh, I think I heard an old timer speak out there. Yeah, Allah won't hellfire for the white devil. Well, why didn't Donald Elijah Muhammad, just a very few, 1 or 2 years before he passed, turn around and look at the guests he had on the platform with him and point to a white man and say to us, that's a white man. That's a white man, he said, in his house, sitting with the dignitaries at the convention, Savior's Day convention. So that's a white man saying he's a Muslim scientist. That's what he told us. And I believe it was that same speech, it was the one that came next year. He said, I tell you this from the bottom of my heart. He didn't speak that way to us. I never heard Donald Elijah Muhammad preach. I heard him. I preached. I'm a little boy. I'm his son. I listened to what he say. I never heard him say to us, I'm telling you this from the bottom of my heart. He wanted to reach us. He was desperately trying to reach us, to change our thinking and our spirit, so that when he died, we would be prepared to go on living and not die with him. He said, I tell you this from the bottom of my heart. If the white man can change and respect you, then you do likewise. That's what he said. So don't blame that on my father. Don't blame your inability to move forward on my father. He desperately worked before he died to free us so we can move forward, continue to progress, go forward with our lives in America after he's gone. And God reward him for his good work and his sacrifices, for his masterful planning and obedience to his master. Master Farad, he called him. May God reward him for that with the paradise. Amen.
You're paying at the pump for Trump's dumb war. He's spending $1 billion a day bombing Iran just to jack up our prices. Tom Steyer is focused on what matters, cutting costs here at home. For a California we can afford, Tom Steyer for governor.
Our vision at Vertex is to help people with cystic fibrosis live life, without limits.
God says to us in this religion, he says, enter peace. And this is a special peace called Silma, from Salama, peace. To give peace, or to greet peace, Salama. Enter peace. Wholly, with your whole self. With your whole self. Let us think on this for just a moment. Enter into peace with your whole self. What does this have reference to? There are people who want peace, but they don't want to let go hell. They want peace, but they hold on to a piece of hell too. I want peace, but I can't go. I want this too. I want this piece of hell I got in my hand. I want these drugs. I want this lottery. I want this gambling. I want this liquor. I want this prostitution. I want this adultery. I want this fornication. I want this masturbation going on to no end. I want to dissipate my life. But God, please give me peace. God said, you want peace? Enter into peace with your whole self. And then you're following the way of Abraham, the upright in faith, the upright in his nature, the upright in faith. Said Abraham came to God and he presented him his whole self, himself in its entirety. His whole self he presented to God. He gave it to God. And we are both supposed to be following the way of Abraham. The order of Abraham, the upright in his nature, the faithful one. Okay. And of Prophet Muhammad, God says, he's a mercy to all the worlds. Rahmatan lil alamin, a mercy to all the worlds. Not just to Muslims, but to all the worlds, Muhammad. And history bear witness that the change brought about in the world because of Muhammad's leadership as a servant and messenger of God opened the way for the revival of the human intellect and intellectual pursuits. Real liberty, real true liberty was given a new shot in the arm, and the whole world has benefited from Muhammad the Prophet's leadership and his many scholars that was produced under his leadership in the many sciences, medicine, astronomy, navigation, everything, travel on the high seas, everything was embraced by the brains that were produced under Muhammad the Prophet, citizen of Mecca and Arabia, who was rejected by his own country, by his own city. They tried to deprive him of the freedom to do the great work that God revealed for him to do. And God gave him a boost. God revealed for them to hear and to Muhammad. Say, Muhammad, tell them, say, I'm a free man in this town. Speaking of Mecca, his own hometown. And they put him out. But it was proven that he was a free man. Came back in and gave them mercy, showed mercy to them. Say, if you will just accept it to live at peace and not undermine the peace, you have no fear for your life or your property. And he said, let there be no more blood spilling, no more fighting. So he showed them mercy. That's the history of our religion. This is our religion that we claim I'm talking about.
You're paying at the pump for Trump's dumb war. He's spending $1 billion a day bombing Iran just to jack up our prices. Tom Steyer is focused on what matters, cutting costs here at home. For a California we can afford, Tom Steyer for governor.
Be the one turning AI into action and action into advantage. Be the IT.
Muhammad, the prophet, was an Arab. Arab, that's how they pronounce it. Arab is English pronunciation. He was an Arab. Born in the city of Mecca, the blessed, holy, sacred city of Mecca. When he formed the leadership, he didn't just have Arabs around him representing the leaders. He had Persian, looking like white folks. He had African. Bilal, his companion Bilal. These were all his number one companions, like Jesus Christ's disciples. Peace be upon Jesus Christ and the prophets. He had his companions who were like disciples. In fact, we could say they were his disciples, the same. They were for him as Jesus Christ's disciples were for Jesus Christ. Peace be upon the prophets. And they were Arab, they were Persian, they were African, and Salman was the Persian. And the record says that he was white-skinned, he was white. So here is a man that God chose for the world, not for his race. He was missioned to be a mercy to the world, not just to his race. And he demonstrated that by selecting or accepting that the leaders closest to him represents the colors of the human race, not Arab or one race, but the human race, the family of mankind. Black, brown, and white was in his staff, in his immediate staff of people. We say we are his followers. We are in America. Should we be trying to keep this leadership 100% black? If we do, we're not following Muhammad's way. We live in a country that's mostly not black. So if we're going to live in this country and make progress in this country, we should demonstrate to this country, to the American people, that we are not hung up on race. We should demonstrate that we truly follow Muhammad the prophet, the servant and messenger of God, the seal of the prophets, the last of them. When we do that, we show the unity of mankind. And we defend ourselves, we protect ourselves from being charged with racism. Racism is not permitted in this religion. It's too far from the nature and beauty of this religion to have any closeness to the important works of this society. No, we must abandon it. We must put it on the outskirts of our life and activities and not permit it to come into our borders. Racism. Racism is for the devil, not for us. Let the devil have racism. He wants to divide the races to weaken the family of mankind, to set it against itself. We ain't going to help him. We're going to defeat him. And we are making great progress.
You're paying at the pump for Trump's dumb war. He's spending $1 billion a day bombing Iran just to jack up our prices. Tom Steyer is focused on what matters, cutting costs here at home. For a California we can afford, Tom Steyer for governor.
So that is the conclusion of that film. And we stop the share there. Inshallah. You still got two hands up, or maybe they didn't. Maybe you didn't let it down. Amatullah Alaji-Sabrie. Or those hands that are up are for comment. You can probably make comment. If not, I can lower your hands. Unmute yourself if you want to make a comment. I think Amatullah. Okay, Michael. Haji Tawhida, your hand is up. You need to unmute yourself. Okay. Haja, Michael Hameen, you want to?
Yes, I appreciate anytime I hear Imam Muhammad presentations because they're so insightful. He presents it in a language that is easy to understand, and he encourages us with the spirit of faith in God and faith in what God has put in us. And I appreciate my MAP5 for sharing that. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah, thank you. Praise Allah. Haji Tawhida, do you have a comment to make or a question? If so, you need to unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
It was Takbir. It was an outstanding presentation. Reflections of how we can be better custodians of this religion of Allah's guidance. How we can be more engaged politically and in every way. My engagement, inshallah, will be to learn and educate on voter registration. That's been that's been a challenge, just to be engaged, and that's the area that I want to commit to. So thank you, MAP5, for this wonderful educational experience. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. On that voter registration piece, I made a mental note to bring this to folks. Probably not for the midterms, but for November elections, depending upon what happens in the Congress with these different voting bills that they have. Make sure that if you have a state or government issued picture ID, be sure that it's not expired. Make sure that it is current. I happened to look at my ID last week, I think it was, and notice that next month it will be expired. So I have to get on myself and go ahead and get that ID renewed, inshallah. I have another one I can use, but that one was a California ID, so I want to make sure that I get that renewed. So I'm reminding myself, reminding all of us, start to get the process. If you have IDs that are going to be expiring, get those renewed. If you need documents that you need to get, birth certificates, whatever, to get documents, proof of legal name change, whatever it is that you will need, make sure that you start now trying to make sure you're in compliance with your locality or your state government will be requiring of you to be able to vote. So we have had a full day. I'm sorry that we weren't able to get Brother Shabazz in. He had some excellent points he was going to make from ACGG, American Coalition for Good Government. He works with Brother Fleming El-Amin, who is our co-host on MAP5. As we said at the beginning of the program, for those who may have come later, Brother Fleming, he's He's not in the Caribbean cruising, or he's not in Hawaii, but he is on the job in Washington, D.C. with the United States Congress of Muslim Organizations. They are having their advocacy day in Washington, D.C. They have meetings set up with the Congress people, the Congress members, and the Senate members, um, making sure that they are aware of our interests as Muslims who will be participating in the upcoming elections, and to try and see if they have understanding of what our interests are. Do they support our interests? If they don't support it, why? Just to keep that engagement and development of relationships with the representatives that are elected. Muhammad Sharif has his hand up, then I will turn it back to Sister Cheryl. Muhammad, go right ahead.
Yes, that's the one that we should listen to. The Honorable Elijah said, he says, from the bottom of my heart. And he pointed to, I was there present. He pointed to that white man, that European Muslim on the platform. He was opening doors for his son, Imam W. Muhammad, to come in and open the door for everyone. Imam brought us to the Quran and the life of example of Prophet Muhammad. Oh, that was, and so many leaders. Imam told us in 2003 that 80% of the imams did not support my leadership. And that was true. They didn't want to give up those chinchilla coats and big hats and diamonds and all that. They didn't want to give it up. And they wanted to say black, black, black. And this was all black, and they wanted to keep it all black so they could keep on using the people. But ma'am opened the door, and that's why I'm saying now look like we going back into blackness. There's no other people other than us in the leadership now. North, east, south, and west. There's all black now. There are no Europeans, no Asians, nowhere in our administration. Man, I'm trying to get us to come away from that blackness, to look like we going back into blackness. Boy, we are in trouble. We are in big, big trouble. And the whole planet knows that we are not supporting Imam Muhammad. The Focolari, we don't see them in the present. They're in very few places. We don't see them in our program now as it should be. Asians, I mean, we are in big, big trouble. And evidently, President Trump and the people around him, well, he couldn't become the president if he didn't have a knowledge of the Quran. No man can become the president if you don't have knowledge of the Quran. They all know, all of them around him know, and that's people why he's taking that position he is now. They didn't listen to that leader. Go back to the scripture, say what happened to the people of Noah, the Odd people, Talmud, and other generations that did not follow the leadership that brought them out of darkness into the light. It's there. If you don't respect the light when it comes on, Allah will let you go back into darkness. That look like that way we may be going now back into darkness. And that's why Trump is doing everything he's doing now. Take the bold present attack Venezuela and their leader and his wife. And now he's making an open attack on a Muslim country, Iran, during Ramadan, during the heart. I mean, look like we getting what we deserve. I know people don't like to hear me talking like this, but I've been talking like that. I'm going to keep on talking like this. You get what you deserve. That's maybe why Trump is in the next step. He may decide that, Allah rotates the leadership. But it's scripture. If you don't support your leader, Allah will give it over to another people. And look like that's what may be happening to her. The way Trump is going now, he's trying to eliminate the midterm elections. And it don't look like there's nothing stopping. All those people that were with him when they tried to take over the American government, he freed all of them. None of them went to jail. No one got arrested. I mean, criminals, they going free. The man exonerated them. Nobody went to jail. No, they free. What you think they're going to do now? Man, we better pray to Allah to have mercy on us one more time. Pray to Allah have mercy one more time. Thank you for taking my comments.
Thank you, Brother Muhammad, for your comments. You remind us of our obligation to follow the leader that Allah has ordained for us. Brother Michael has in the chat that in Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis has taken the step to put CAIR, CAIR, which is the Council of American Islamic Relations, on the Antifa list. Antifa, they throw up the word Antifa as an organization that is against I think they label it a terrorist organization, if I'm not mistaken, but
that's right.
They always try to label those organizations that come against their undemocratic policies. So let's support our brothers and sisters who are part of CAIR there in Florida. Let's give them our support. If since those who are on the broadcast or anyone who may see it on the YouTube channel, pass the word to good people who are standing up to flood Ron DeSantis' office and flood the other state officials' offices with letters and petitions and phone calls and actions, if necessary, to challenge his putting CAIR, which is a civil rights organization. Actually, it started here in the Bay Area. I don't know how many years, over 30, I think. I remember when it first started out with Brother Ahmed, and he passed away. May Allah forgive him his sins and grant him the reward of paradise. But they have come up. Our brothers and sisters down there in Milpitas supported the organization. It has grown to be a national organization with chapters all over the United States. And I believe we still have the CAIR hour here on American Muslim 360. If I'm wrong, someone correct me. I believe they still have a broadcast hour here on American Muslim 360, which is the media platform for the community-wide Shura conference. Okay, so we have gone past our 12 o'clock. It is now 12:31 Pacific time. So that's 3:31 on the East Coast and 2:31 in the West. So we need to wrap it up, Sister Cheryl. Imam Michael Hamim, you want to, at the close of the program, do the closing dua for us?
Yes, ma'am.
Sister Cheryl, do you want to close us out before Imam Hamim?
Yes. But I do want to make sure that because other people will see this program, and I appreciate Brother Muhammad Sharif's words, but I do want to say this because I don't want to leave us with this note that we are helpless and we can't do anything about the situation that's going on. The people have all of the power in this situation. And we've gotten into this situation because the people have abdicated their power. It's not just Congress that have abdicated their power. The people have abdicated their power. And they've abdicated their power by allowing Congress to abdicate their power. We have the power to fire the people who've abdicated their power. And you fire them by not allowing them to get back into office. And you do that through the voting booth. You do that through recalling them and making sure they don't get back into office. And that is totally possible. We can't walk around in a state of wringing our hands or saying that, they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Yes, they are right now, they're doing some foul things, but they're only doing it because we've allowed them to do it. We allowed them to do it. We collectively, whether that's those of us who voted, those who didn't, those who voted one way, those who voted another way, but we collectively are responsible for this mess that we're in. And we are collectively have to get us out of it. And I'm not saying Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever. It doesn't matter. We, the people, have the power to change this around. And until we stop either pointing fingers or saying that it's someone else's responsibility, we're going to keep going around and around in circles. Once we all stand up, game over. Game over. We have to stand up. And once we all are knowledgeable about what those rules are, that they can't do it, doesn't mean they won't try. You're not supposed to bite a person while you're fighting in the ring. But somebody did it. Sorry, Mike Tyson. But he did. And once it got called on it, he couldn't get away with it. You're not supposed to trip somebody while they're running down the basketball court or illegally hit somebody in a football game. People do it until they get called on it. In soccer, you get a red flag. You get a red card. People do things that they're not supposed to do all the time. People drive 80 down a freeway that says 55 until they get caught. So we have an obligation, as you just heard Imam say during that recording, to call it out. But we have to be willing to stand 10 toes down, even when it's uncomfortable. And when we have somebody who decides that, as you just said, brother, who wants to wear the fancy clothes and the hat and do all of and drive the fancy cars instead of standing in truth, we got to call them out too. And we might lose some people. We might lose some people. And just like a good activist does, we might have to throw some pig blood on that fancy coat. Because I'm going to ruin that coat one way or the other. You either going to take that coat off and stand in line, or you're going to be walking around with some pig blood on that fancy coat. Because you ain't going to stand here and ruin what we're trying to make sure is right. But we got to be willing. I started out the show talking about courage and fearlessness and live courageous. So we got to decide what's the word? In unison. I'm change the word. I don't know. I don't know the word I'm looking for. But that's what Shura is about. But we got to decide. And I keep asking for us to call a national conference to decide what our agenda is going to be. And then we got to move forward on it. We got to decide what that agenda, what does that look like? What does that look like for Muslims in this country, for Black people in this country? What does it look like, not just for Black, let me take that back. What does it look like for people who stand on principles of humanity? What does that look like? It could be Muslims, it could be Christians, it could be Buddhists, Hindu, Jews, don't care. But what does it look like for principled people who are grounded in humanity to seek justice? What is our agenda look like? And what does that look like for all of us to unabashedly stand firm and seek it without compromise, without shame, and without fear? What does that agenda look like? it's a rhetorical question, but it's one that needs to be answered sooner rather than later. That will guide us. And the people who are going to stand are going to stand. And we, like I said, we're going to lose some people. Some people going to fall. Some people going to fall, and it's okay. Harriet Tubman say she saved a lot. She could have saved more if only they knew they needed to be saved. Some ain't going to be saved. It's okay. Can't save everybody. Some of them going to have to go. Some going to have to be sacrificed. And it's okay. With that, I say to you, gracias for joining us this morning, afternoon, some of you. We appreciate you. We appreciate the dialogue. This has been like standing in the rain. I'm going to get my towel and dry off. Stay powerful. Stay productive. Stay prayerful. Stay philanthropic. Do something for someone without the expectation for anything in return. Just do it because it's the right thing to do. Don't post it anywhere. Don't take any photos. Don't do it because you're looking for some kudos or some pats on the back. Just do it because I tell you, it will make you feel really good. And then have a wonderful, wonderful Monday and have a wonderful rest of your week. Inshallah, we'll see you back here next Monday here on MAP5, Muslim American Power 5. We will reconvene next Monday, 1 o'clock, on that coast, which is the coast I've been on for a week. It's throwing me my clock all the way off because that sun come peeking up real early. The West Coast people, real early. And then in the middle of the country, it's 12 noon. A little bit more respectful. But the most respectful hour is 10 a.m. on the West Coast. West Coast. Sister Amatullah, tell us what we can expect next week.
Well, next week we have our sister Aisha K. Mustafa, editor of Muslim Journal and also professor of communications there in Mississippi at Talladega University. And also we're expecting Sister Okola Rashid and her daughter, who is the current director of the American Muslim Museum in Jackson, Mississippi. So inshallah, we're looking forward to them. And as far as you were saying, the agenda, Muslim agenda,
yes.
I'm looking into contacts with some people who are working towards that. So if I'm able to get them to agree to come on the program, inshallah, we'll have that pretty soon. But we also have Imam Muhammad Abdullah Aleem will be with us in May also to continue with his presentation on the Quranic foundations of Muslim American citizenship, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. And we said I leave you with my words from my grandmother, since we're talking about perspective today. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at will also change. That's perspective. And with that, I turn you over to the good Sir Michael Amin to take us out of here before I give you my last 3 words. Sir.
Thank you. Bismillah. O Allah, Lord Creator, guide us among those you've guided aright. Save us among those you save. Bless us in whatever you give us, and deliver us from the harm that you judge. You judge, and none can judge against you, and those whom you befriend are not disgraced. Ameen.
Ameen.
Ameen. With that, everyone. Gracias. That's wrap. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you here, God willing, next Monday.
Peace out.
Assalamu alaikum.